the only begotten Son. Begotten Son. Is it Bible? Of course. Of course. It's my thing. It's my thing. It is my
anything.
thing. You
won't want
yes, exactly. He's scared. He's scared. He cannot. He is scared. He's scared. He's scared. You know what? He cannot speak the tongue of Jesus. He cannot.
Let me talk about
the only talk about begotten Son. Let's talk about begotten Son. Do you believe it exists? Do you believe it exists in the Bible? Begotten Son. Do you believe it exists in the Bible?
Right. Guys,
begotten Son. Do you believe it exists in the Bible?
He's in hot water.
Yeah. Look. He's running. Going back. Answer that question. Begotten Son. Begotten Son. Does it exist in the Bible? Does it exist in the Bible?
Okay.
Begotten Son. Does it exist in the Bible?
Let me explain what we're talking about here to the audience.
Begotten Son. Does it exist in the Bible?
The reason why.
Does begotten Son exist in the Bible? Come on, answer the question. Answer the bloody question.
Yes, does exist in the
Bible. So, here, going back. Biblical scholars, they said this is an injection to the Bible. It is imposed in the Bible. Added begotten Son.
The word monogamous.
Yes.
Do you know Greek?
Begotten Son. Yeah, begotten. Here they said they imposed. You're not Greek. 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 Do you agree?
I know the word.
Do you know Greek? Can you speak Greek? Get us some Greek guy here.
Does he know Greek?
No.
Don't.
Do you know why? The Bible.
He wants to give
a Hebrew man.
About it. He can't.
A Hebrew man. Listen, brother.
He's talking about
a Hebrew man. Listen, brothers. Why did you not agree?
Me about Greek.
You are there, it's your own Bible.
Where is the word? And I said the word in Greek, which is what it was written in.
No, you said no. Why I need to know Greek? Why I need to know Greek? Look at this nonsense. Going back, I need to know Greek. Going back to the point.
You're talking about Greek words.
No, I'm talking about here begotten Son.
Which is what?
Here, which is injected in the Bible.
What is
injected in the Bible?
What is the word?
I don't need to know. I don't need to know. Yes. I don't need to know. Do you know why? Look at this guy. Those people, listen.
Malik and Malik, do you know Arabic?
I know Malik and Malik. I know the words.
Do you know Arabic? You know Arabic. Then speak to me in Arabic. Let's just have this discussion in Arabic.
Greek words.
I don't.
What is the word?
Listen. I don't need to know. I don't need to know. Listen, I don't need to know.
He's a fraud.
Why I need to? I don't need to know. I don't need to know. I don't need to know. He is. He has no ground. Can he?
Sheikh Mohammed is confirmed.
Can he?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm confirming. I'm putting my hand. There are 7 qira'at of the Quran. No problem.
Thank you.
No problem.
There are 7 different Qurans.
Yes, not qira'at, not Quran.
You just said they were different. You said they were complementary.
Yes, complementary. Yes, complementary. No, not different. They complete each other.
Remember, guys,
no, here.
There are 7 different Qurans.
Going back.
But they are different.
See here, a Hebrew man. Listen. A Hebrew man.
He said they're different.
A Hebrew man. Don't lie. He lies. They lie on Jesus. They lie about Jesus. They lie about God. They lie about everyone.
You lie about
the question is, was Jesus Hebrew?
You believe
was
Jesus was a failed prophet?
Was Jesus Hebrew? Was Jesus Hebrew?
Was he a Hebrew?
Yeah, was he a Hebrew man? Yes. Was he? Yeah. Okay. Did he speak Aramaic in his time?
He spoke Aramaic.
Okay.
He spoke
and his book is written
Greek.
what? No, he didn't speak Greek. There's no proof. You prove.
He spoke to Pontius
Pilate. You need to prove.
We have people with names that are Greek.
People speak Aramaic
the whole region was held hundreds of years before.
I speak in English. I speak to you in English. It doesn't mean. Listen. Time.
What did the
speak
Greeks
different
speak?
languages, no problem.
Greek.
No.
How long did they colonize for?
No.
Hundreds of years.
No. They were Romans. They were Romans.
Jews.
They were Romans. Not Greek. They were Romans.
These
they were Romans.
What is it written?
They were Romans. They were Romans.
Before the Greeks, yes.
No. It was written here. Going back to the point.
He doesn't know history.
You see here. I know history. That's what it is.
Did the Greeks colonize the area?
At some time. At certain
point.
What
do the Greeks speak?
They speak all the Greek language, yes.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, but
the Septuagint, what was it written in?
Okay, one second.
The Old Testament.
Going back to this point. Now, the question is,
what was it written?
Why the Torah is not written in Greek?
But the Torah is written in Greek. From Hebrew into Greek.
No, it's not translation. What is? Ask any Jew man here.
Oh no.
Let's ask them. Find the Jew guy here.
Were Jews reading from the
Find
Septuagint at the time of Christ?
Actually, it's a humiliation. If you say to the Jews that your Torah was written in Greek, it's a humiliation to them. It is written in their own
The
language,
Torah
the
was
Hebrew.
originally
It is
in
written Hebrew.
But
Why the Bible?
around
A Hebrew
300
man.
BC,
Why a Hebrew
the
man?
Septuagint,
A Hebrew
meaning
man.
70,
Why a
the
Hebrew
people
man
who
has
compiled
his
it
own book to
compiled
be
it in
written in
Greek.
different language? A
The
Hebrew
Jews
man
were
who
speaking
speaks
Greek.
Aramaic. Why his book is written in Greek, which this gentleman he
You've
cannot
just
read
been
it.
exposed, Sheikh.
He cannot read it.
I
He
gave
cannot
you
read
3
it.
reasons
He
that
cannot
Jesus
read
knew
it.
Greek.
No.
He's
No.
given me no reasons why he didn't.
There is no way. This is assumption. This is not
Jesus
confirmation.
spoke to Pontius Pilate.
Maybe in
Pontius
Aramaic.
Pilate
Maybe in
was a
Aramaic.
Gentile.
You say
He would have spoken
in Aramaic.
Greek.
No, that's
There
not.
are disciples
okay.
with
How do you
Greek
know?
names.
How do you know he's
Hence
speaking
they
Greek?
knew
How do
Greek.
you know he's speaking in Greek?
The Septuagint
How do you know he's speaking in
is
Greek?
the Old
How
Testament
do you know?
written
Why is not in
in
Aramaic?
Greek.
Why not in Aramaic?
Done.
Why not in Aramaic?
Done.
Why not in Aramaic?
He also spoke Aramaic.
Why not he spoke to them in
Because
Aramaic?
the lingua franca of the
No,
day
no.
was Greek.
It was Roman. It was old Roman language. That was the colonization at that time.
What were they speaking?
At that time,
Yeah.
they would speak Roman, old
What's
Roman,
Roman?
yeah, which is the new,
What's
the Latin,
Roman?
the Latin,
Oh,
the Latin language.
they
Yes.
also-
Yeah.
Latin was only for the elite
Yeah.
and for the academics.
Yes, exactly.
The common
So-
language was Greek.
No, nonsense.
Oh, no.
The common language was Aramaic.
Historians are going to be doing
The
backflips
common
when they hear
language,
this, man.
by the way, the common language was Aramaic,
bad.
and
This
the
is
elite
really
they
bad.
spoke Latin. Yes,
There
the
you
elite
are,
spoke
he
Latin.
confirmed what I said.
The elite
Thank
spoke
you.
Latin, and
Sheikh,
there is
you
no
don't know what
manuscript.
you're talking
There is
about.
no manuscript written in Latin. What nonsense!
Of course not.
Go
They
on,
write for
you
the
see
elite.
here. You see
They
here.
wrote for everyday
You look at this.
people,
Look at this.
which was
Look
Greek.
at all of these assumptions. He assumed that you spoke in Greek language.
No,
that's not
I
assumption.
gave you
There
the
is no.
fact. The
That's not fact.
Septuagint
That's not
was
fact.
written in Greek.
No,
Jews were
yeah, it's
using
written
it.
in Greek.
I gave
800
you.
years after.
There are
800 years
disciples
after.
such as
800
Andrew
years after.
and Philip who have Greek names.
Because
I
listen,
gave you the
listen
example
to this.
that
Listen
he
to this.
spoke to
Listen to
Pontius
this.
Pilate,
You know
who would
what?
have
You know what
spoke
he
Greek.
says? Now, for example, if
Done.
I go and speak to someone, his name is. Listen, brother
Okay,
Sam.
3 arguments. Deal with them.
Listen. If I go and speak to someone, his name is Alejandro. Yeah. I speak to him in some language, means I speak Spanish. What nonsense is this?
No.
If someone, this is exactly
What
like
it
this.
means,
He spoke to
which is
someone, his name is Philip.
Somebody has to
It
give a
means,
big name that means they have to
Yeah,
speak Arabic.
yeah. He said
Shake,
he
you're
spoke
doing
to someone.
backflips.
His name is
Shake, you're
Philip.
doing backflips.
What was the name he said?
Shake.
What's the name he said? Andrew. Yeah,
Andrew,
he spoke to
Philip.
someone. His Andrew and Philip. That's why he speaks Greek.
It
Look at
means
this nonsense.
The area was Hellenized.
Like,
you laughing?
it means if I speak,
Historians have
listen,
found this.
yesterday,
What an
my brother,
embarrassment.
yesterday,
What an embarrassment.
yesterday, yesterday, by the way, brothers, yesterday, listen, yesterday,
I gave 3 arguments. He has not addressed a
listen,
single one.
brother, no, listen,
He has yet to make one
last week I spoke to Chinese lady. And her name is Chu Song.
No,
Yeah,
it's his privilege.
that means I can speak
No,
Chinese.
it's his privilege.
It's fine. You
It's
can't.
my
Yeah,
argument.
it's exactly.
Argument.
I
That's
speak
not
Chinese.
argument.
I spoke to
My
Chinese man or a
argument
Chinese woman.
is
It's
that they
fine.
were giving
He
Jews-
says he
they were
spoke to
giving
someone's name is
people
Andrew.
who were
That's why he
Jews
speaks Greek.
Greek names.
I'm asking. No, again.
Why would they give Jews
I spoke
Greek
to
names?
someone. It doesn't matter.
It's
It doesn't
because
matter.
they lived in a Greek
Now,
area.
nowadays
So
in
what are they
China,
speaking?
for you, nowadays
Greek.
in China,
Done.
nowadays in China,
Jake, you
people's
have not
name,
made one
nowadays in
argument
China,
to address
some
my
people's
points.
name Tom doesn't mean they're English.
That's not
nonsense.
my argument.
Again,
That's
again,
not
going
my
back to the point.
Sheikh,
Now, a
you have
Hebrew man,
confirmed there are 7 Qurans.
Hebrew man,
Thank you, Sheikh.
Hebrew man
He has confirmed
who spoke
there are 7
Aramaic,
Qurans.
who spoke Aramaic, and his book
just
was
confirmed
written
this, I mean.
800
The
years
video
after.
will
800 years after his time, and it's written in what
He said
language?
there are
Greek.
different
And he
meanings
says he
that are
speaks Greek.
confidential.
Why he speaks Greek? Why he
Because
speaks
the
Greek?
area
He spoke to
was
Andrew,
Hellenized.
then he's Greek. Look at this
Area was
nonsense.
Hellen-
Spoke to Andrew, that's why he's Greek.
You mean
What
the guy
nonsense?
with a Greek name?
Yeah,
The Jew?
you speak
Who
to a
was
guy.
probably
It
reading the
doesn't matter.
Septuagint?
It doesn't matter. Jews they name
Which would
different
have been
names.
Greek.
Nowadays, even some Jews their names even Arabic names. It doesn't mean they're Arabs. That's nonsense. Going back to the point. Now here, this is the challenge for all Christians. If any Christian on earth is able to even recite one single passage, which is written at the time of Jesus, to recite it on the tongue of Jesus, Just one single passage. No single Christian on earth is able to do it.
No, of course not.
Why?
Of course
There
not.
is no.
So, for example, something I
No,
enjoy.
it is
I
lost.
like watching the
As
long
they
crowd
say,
and
lost and dusted.
No,
Lost
listen.
and dusted.
do you mean?
Lost. There is no single passage
There is. It is
written
the
in
earliest-
Aramaic.
it is the
There is
earliest
no
manuscript that we
single
have.
passage.
That is the
There is
original.
no
That is it.
single passage.
original
There is
text.
no
There's no-
single
there is
passage
no original
on earth. No one is able to read it. No one knows. He said, he doesn't know.
From the first
Here,
century of
the challenge for him. The challenge. You see the challenge for you. For everyone.
Manuscripts.
Yes.
From 1st and 2nd century.
It doesn't matter, brother. Those,
100,000 you
listen. If you share them, even if they saw them with their own eyes, do you think they're going to accept
The
it?
Sana.
Even, listen,
Complete Quran.
those people, they burned the Bible. They burned it. They killed
Uthman
it.
burned
You
the
yourself.
Quran.
Yeah. Yes, true.
Uthman
Yeah,
burns Quranic
yes.
manuscripts.
In order not to have what you have.
Burns the Quran.
He burned the copies, which is in order not to have like yourselves, which is
who wrote
lost.
the Quran?
Lost.
You don't know
Lost.
who wrote the
have
Now
lost.
here. Again, going back to the point.
You don't know.
A Hebrew man.
We have
A
lost.
Hebrew man
Bible.
spoke Aramaic and his book is written in Greek. What nonsense is this? Why? Who spoke Greek? How did Andrew? And he took it. Someone's name is Andrew.
Everyone
That means he
likely
can.
in the area
He can
has a
speak.
common language.
Nonsense. Nonsense.
Roman
Nonsense. Roman spoke. They spoke Latin. They were proud people.
Romans only spoke Latin.
Latin, yes. Latin, they spoke Latin, not
They
Greek.
spoke Greek as
Yeah.
well.
We don't know. How we prove? How you prove? How you prove? How you prove? How you prove Jesus? Why? Listen, this is the question. This is his argument. This is his good argument. How he proves?
Absolutely.
He says Jesus spoke Greek because he spoke to Andrew. That means he
No,
can speak Greek.
that's not
Nonsense.
my argument.
Again,
He's
going back to the
mocking my
point.
argument.
Give me
My
a
argument is
single.
that there were people at the time who were
No,
Hellenites.
that's not true. That's
How
assumption.
how do you know that? Tell me.
Assumption.
Assumption is simple.
That's assumption.
They were living under the
Assumption.
occupancy of the
by
Roman
Romans.
Empire.
By Romans, not
What do you mean
Greek.
by
Not
Romans?
Greek. Not Greek.
Romans would have known Greek.
No, not necessarily. Why not? Why?
We have
I don't
manuscripts to the point that were in Greek.
Manuscript Greek.
Yes.
Which 800 years
The
after.
earliest account of
800
Jesus.
years after.
No.
That's the early one. That's the early one.
Code of
Here,
Sinaiticus
going
is in
back.
Greek. Done.
Now here.
Done.
When God has revealed himself to Jesus according to you, what language he spoke to him? When God has revealed himself to Jesus, what language he spoke to him?
What does your Quran say?
I'm asking you.
What does your Quran say?
I'm asking.
What
They
does
can't.
your
They don't have an
Quran
answer.
say?
They don't know.
Muslims
They don't
don't
know.
know.
Did he speak to them in Greek?
Tell me
Do you
what your
think
Quran
God will speak to Jesus in Greek? Or speaking to him in Greek? They don't know. Because hey, that's the point here. They can't have a single passage. They cannot recite a single passage, even in Greek. Even in Greek, they don't know it. They don't know it. So that's why here, my brothers and sisters, we have concluded with this. From this argument, we have concluded as follows. That, firstly, that those people, they don't have any preserved copy of the Bible, firstly. Secondly, that they cannot even recite the Bible according to the tongue of Jesus. They don't know even what's the tongue of Jesus. They don't know what it is. They say, even when Jesus spoke in Greek, it's okay. Did God speak to Jesus in Greek? This is the problem. So that's
Quran
why
says
here, you
that
need
when
to
they
know,
say
you need to know that all of these hocus pocus and all of this nonsense, it tells you that those
Sheikh,
people,
you
they
have
have
now
no
just three
ground,
arguments. I gave you three
they
arguments.
have no
three
ground to stand.
arguments.
And what's his
Sheikh, I gave you
argument?
three arguments.
He spoke to someone, his name is
No, the
Andrew.
area was Hellenized.
Andrew.
What language
Andrew.
was the Septuagint?
Andrew.
What language was the Septuagint?
I spoke to a Chinese
What
man last week.
language was the
That means I
Septuagint?
can speak.
What
I can
language,
speak
Sheikh,
Chinese
was the
because you can
Septuagint?
speak to someone.
What
Look at this
language,
nonsense.
Sheikh,
That is
was
the
the
concept.
Septuagint?
The question is,
Sheikh,
we
what
have
language? What
no
Septuagint?
single proof that the Jesus
Okay.
spoke in Greek. We don't have single proof.
What
No
language was the
single
Septuagint?
proof.
How did he speak
No
to Pontius Pilate?
single proof.
How did he speak to Pontius Pilate?
Maybe in Aramaic. Aramaic.
Oh, so Gentiles
Maybe in
spoke Aramaic.
Maybe in Aramaic.
So the
Maybe.
Romans only spoke Latin.
Yes.
Aramaic.
Maybe in Hebrew. Maybe in Hebrew because he was a Hebrew man. We don't know. Here. Look,
What are you on
the
about?
common here, he was a Hebrew man
He was a Hebrew
who
man.
speaks Hebrew, who speaks Hebrew,
He was a well-known
who
Jew.
communicate, was Andrew Hebrew.
He has no idea.
Was Andrew Hebrew.
He was a Jew
Was
with a Greek name.
Good. So was he Hebrew? Was he Hebrew?
Jew
Good.
with a Greek
Good.
name.
Good. Now when you spoke to them,
Septuagint
one second.
is
One
the
second.
Old Testament written in Greek.
Good. Look, I'm
300
gonna. I
years
will be
before
debunking. Look.
Jesus.
Listen. He confirmed this.
There
Listen,
was
brothers.
Greek all
Brothers.
over the place.
Yes. Good.
Greek
Good.
all over the
Listen.
place.
So Andrew and Philip, you confirm they are Hebrew. They're Jewish. Yeah.
They are Jews.
So they spoke Hebrew. One second.
In a Greek area.
Hebrew. Did they speak Hebrew?
Was
Did
written.
they speak Hebrew?
Yes, of course.
And Jesus, did he
And
speak Hebrew?
Aramaic.
Yes, I assume yes.
Did they speak Hebrew?
Yes, I assume.
Did they speak Greek?
No.
Which was the
We don't know.
common language of the time?
I don't know.
In the
I don't know.
Roman colonized area.
I don't know.
You don't
But the question is,
he went from
why?
No, they don't. I don't know.
Why you choose? Why you
He
choose?
changed his
Why you
argument.
choose? One
He
second.
said
This is how it is.
So we don't know.
A Hebrew
He
man.
changed
One second.
his argument.
A Hebrew man who speaks Aramaic. One second. A Hebrew man. Going back. A Hebrew man who speaks Aramaic. Talk to Hebrew men who speaks Aramaic and spoke to them in Greek. Again, a Hebrew man. Look at this argument. Hebrew man who speaks Aramaic. A Jewish man who speaks Aramaic. Spoke to two Jewish men who speaks Aramaic and choose to do what? Choose what? In Greek. Why?
He speaks Aramaic. Why
The question
is
is
it
back
in
to you.
any way difficult to understand?
No, it's okay.
that in a Greek-occupied area from the Romans, he would have also spoken.
1 second. About this. Going back.
He spoke
Going back.
Pontius Pilate.
My brothers.
He would have known
Again,
Greek.
going back.
He would
Going
have
back to
read
the point.
Septuagint,
Yeah.
which is the Old
Now here.
Testament written in
Listen.
Greek.
Now here,
Done.
as Jews, Christians, come
disciples'
forward.
names,
We'll ask you a question. We have a question to you as a Jew. As a Jew. Do you think why, for example, your Torah is not written in Greek language?
Can I ask you a very quick question? The Septuagint, what language?
What?
The Septuagint, what language was it written in? The Septuagint.
I know what that is.
Septuagint.
That's it.
What's the Hebrew name?
You know
What's the Hebrew name?
You know you have. Do you
What's
know
the
this?
Hebrew? I don't know the English name of my
okay.
text. I know in the
You see
second
here,
language.
that's my point.
When are the
That's the
earliest-
point. That's the point. That's the point. That's the point here.
Thank you.
A Hebrew man speaks to two Hebrew men. Yeah, spoke to them, and there's both parties they speak Aramaic and Hebrew,
Yes, they're
and he
bilingual.
choose to speak in Greek. Nonsense.
Greek was the
Hocus
most common
pocus. Hocus pocus. Nonsense. Not for the Jews. The Jews, they were proud people to speak in their language. So when he speaks to Jew, he speaks to them in Hebrew. He will not choose to speak other language.
I'll prove it to you.
Yeah,
Prove it to you
yeah,
it wasn't the
good.
most common language.
Yes.
I'll prove it to you in a simpler way. Thank you. We're talking about in Israel, correct?
Yes.
In the area of Israel.
Yes.
No problem.
Yeah, the area of that area. Yeah.
Occupied by.
Regardless of let
What
me
language
prove,
was the occupied?
Listen.
It's not relevant. I'll prove you why. No, I'll explain you why they wouldn't have spoken in Greek. I live in Hackney. The predominant language there spoken by the Jews are not English. It's a secondary language. It's not native here. In a foreign country, let me finish.
Yes, good.
In a foreign country, we speak as their first language a foreign language. So, of course, in our native homeland, we would speak the
I know.
native
Let me
over the
explain.
occupier's language. We do it 2,000 years later.
I know. My point is not when they spoke.
That's it.
My point is not that
I have
they
no
would have
comment.
spoken
I have no
Greek.
comment.
My point is that
That's
they
it.
would have been Hebrew.
That's it.
They would have done Aramaic, which they
Yes.
probably would have spoken normal common day language. Yes.
Yes.
There's good reason to believe from both the internal text of the gospel that Jesus would have been Greek because he spoke to people.
No, but you've
Ignorant.
Give me a second. You've created a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're saying that in the gospel it says Jesus spoke Greek. A
Did Jesus
book
speak
that,
with Pontius Pilate in your
Just answer.
a book, hello. A book that I don't hold any validity is
Exactly,
what you're
right,
using.
exactly. So I wouldn't
You know,
expect us to
but
do
Listen,
that.
listen.
No, but you
know.
have to bring proof.
Yeah, I understand.
Let me finish. You have to bring proof. You have to bring proof from the external, not internal. Accept the documents by me that he would have spoken Greek and it
Okay,
would be
the
natural.
Septuagint then. The Old Testament. Actually, sorry.
Come on. Come on.
The Old Testament was translated from Hebrew into Greek 300 years. We believe was the birth of the Messiah.
Why is that the original one?
You know, I don't know why you don't
Nonsense.
No, but we believe that we also believe.
using it.
No.
No.
They weren't.
Come on.
I can prove
Please.
it.
I'm not saying that.
I can prove it to you. They
No,
weren't.
saying to
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
there were Jews that were using the Septuagint. Why? Because they translated it into
I could
Greek.
prove you that's not the case.
Yeah, okay.
We know we have manuscripts of it. You're aware.
You could have manuscript, but just because an individual.
Of the Torah
It doesn't
in
matter about the
Greek.
individual.
Hello. It doesn't just because an individual was using it. I can't deny
Right,
to
there are
you.
there.
It's not. Let me finish.
So there were people.
No.
It's not. Let me finish. You're coming asking me to come tell you a certainty that they weren't using it. I know, but I can tell you as a community they weren't using it.
That's fine.
They will
That's
never
not my
use it.
point. All my point
They
is
will never use it.
that he's trying to
They
say
will never use it.
there is no way they would have known Greek. And I'm simply saying,
The
look,
widespread wouldn't have known
You see
Greek.
here, you see here.
What,
You
sorry?
The
know,
widespread population wouldn't have known Greek.
I'm talking about
I will tell you-
Jesus and the disciples.
Jesus, even by your own account, was not from any high standards, correct?
But according to
Yes,
our,
exactly,
according to
exactly,
our own
exactly.
accounts,
He's not from the
spoke
high
to someone
standard, that's
called
true.
Pilate, who would have likely only spoke
but
Greek
was he
or
from,
Latin.
do you hold in your own belief doctrine that Jesus came from the higher end of society? No. So
No.
there's not likely to speak Greek. There was no
That's
reason
my
why a
point.
local
Greek-
native
No,
would have
wait,
spoke
wait,
the
wait.
occupiers'
Greek is a
language.
lower
yes,
language.
exactly. Yeah,
Latin
that's
is
exactly.
the
That's my
higher
point.
No, but
That's
it
my
was the
point.
occupiers' language. Why would somebody from the lower class speak the occupiers' language?
Because the majority of people who are coming to your
listen,
country
listen. Do you know
are
the
speaking
argument?
Yeah, but we didn't. But
Can-
that's
can-
not an
can-
argument.
I'm
Can I
not
say to you
saying-
the
I'm not
argument?
saying the
Listen,
Jews
can I say
didn't
to you the
speak
argument?
Give me a second.
The
You have to explain to me why somebody from the lower classes of society,
Yeah.
by your account, Jesus was from the lower class, lowest class, would be speaking the language of the occupiers,
Of the
which
elite.
Generally, only the aristocracy of the Jewish
The elite.
community, the elite would have spoken it. The local native people wouldn't have spoken the occupiers'
That's our
language.
point.
Native local people. If
and-
you would,
and
okay,
I will
for
add- I will add to your
example,
information.
to
Do you
have
know-
any
do you know the point?
conversation with the Roman authority, how would you do it?
Listen.
Say if you were-
Listen.
say
Listen.
you-
Wait. Can I say
if
something?
you were a Jewish
One
person
second.
at the time, yes,
Yeah.
and you knew Hebrew and you knew Aramaic,
Yeah.
if there was a guard or someone whom you had to speak to who was a Roman,
Yeah.
how would you speak to him?
The odds are most of the Roman emperors. First of all, it's clearly shown that the Roman emperors and most occupiers throughout all history took translators with them. Okay?
Yes, so exactly.
there's no way they
Just
could
went
have had a
to India,
conversation.
Nobody
Yes.
from it. Nobody,
So if,
they didn't speak English in India.
If someone stole and a guard saw it and he came, how on earth would the guard tell him to even stop? He wouldn't even speak his language.
They speak Hebrew that time.
The odds
the
are-
Romans-
No, I'm talking about here. You said,
odds are majority wouldn't have been able to communicate.
Do you know,
In
do you
what
know,
language?
do you know,
They
David,
wouldn't
David,
have. The
David,
odds are majority
listen.
wouldn't have.
Do you know the problem?
They would have quickly
Listen,
adapted
listen.
Greek.
Hello, why do
which
you
the
think
evidence, you know,
it's not-
we have.
why do you think
we have
occupiers are looked
inscriptions.
at-
Wait. We have
Do
inscriptions.
you know what is the argument? To me,
Listen.
the first
Wait,
manuscript,
wait.
the first manuscript written in Greek.
Yes,
I said to him, why the first manuscript written in Greek? I asked him, I challenged him.
Because
Can you talk? Listen,
there is no
listen.
reason to
Can I?
think
Okay, one
they
second.
did not
One
know
second. Let me.
Greek.
Yes, there
One
is.
second.
Why would they know Greek before the Greeks came? Let's go back a second.
What?
Before the Greeks before
The Greeks were there hundreds of years.
So what?
It was a Hellenized region.
What? For how long when you hold Jesus died?
Wait, what do you mean?
The Greek were not there even.
What? When the Romans were there. Sorry. How long do you
The
hold
Greek
they
were not there even.
How long
Listen,
would you think they were
nonsense.
Hold on, wait.
Listen.
It would make sense from a view of the gospel.
You see here.
They were writing in a language.
What's this nonsense? Here's a hocus pocus. Listen.
He's referring to Rabbi Google.
Listen, Rabbi Google. Yeah. So listen to this. Please Google.
Latin was
Yeah.
the official language of the Roman Empire.
Yeah, that's
But
my
other
point.
languages were regionally important, such as Greek.
Okay, but Jews don't speak
So,
the occupiers'
Jews, they
language.
never
But the
spoke the
Septuagint was written in Greek.
No.
Individuals may have learned language, but the by and
They
large,
were there.
it's
The
not
people,
because Jesus
listen,
was from the
so
lower
you can
class.
imagine,
He
listen,
wouldn't have
listen,
spoken
There have not been
listen,
people
according to
who
them,
would have
listen,
known Greek.
according to them, David, according to them, listen, according to them, listen, according to them, do you know what they believe? They believe Jesus, first, I said to him, how do you prove that Jesus spoke Greek? Yeah. You know what is the proof?
We know
He
that
said,
they did.
He said, you know what he said? He said he spoke to two guys. Listen to this. He spoke to two guys. One of them, his name is Andrew. The other one, his name is Philip. Both of them, they were Jews. And he spoke to them in Greek. He spoke to them in Greek. I said a Hebrew talk to two Hebrew men in Greek. I said,
Can I make
you
my
say,
argument?
That's it.
I was
what's the
pointing
proof?
out-
What's the proof that he speaks Greek?
His
Look.
argument is that there is no way. Can I have a
Would
chat
must be
with
very
him?
fit.
Can I have a chat with him?
Well, Christians.
Can I have a
women,
wait, mate? What are you doing?
everything
What are you doing? Can I have a chat with him? You're just saying.
Everyone comes. What was the problem?
He's trying to argue that there is no way at all. that anyone can
I
learn
didn't say
Greek.
that. I didn't say that.
What do you say? Then? Go on then.
I said, firstly, can you read the Bible according to what Jesus recited? That's the challenge. And I said to you, how is it? Then you said the first early manuscript was written in Greek. I said, a Jew man, he's a Jew according to them, who spoke Aramaic of that time, and he will recite the Bible in the language of the elite, according to him. I said, how can I said recite it according to Jesus? Either if he recited it in Hebrew, I will understand. If he recited it in Aramaic, I will understand. Why he choose Greek? I said, what's the proof to do that?
Right.
He said he spoke
so can I-
to two Jews who are Jews
this.
living there.
You the
Nonsense.
history.
Who are
You don't know
Jews
history,
living
bro.
there,
doesn't
and
know.
he
Watch
chose
it.
to speak to them. Wait one second. He chose to speak to two Jews in Greek. I said he's Hebrew, and he knows Hebrew. They know Hebrew. He knows Aramaic. They know Aramaic. Why he need to choose? Why he choose to speak in Greek? That is the argument. He said that's why he said he has to speak in Greek. That was his
No,
argument.
I'm not trying to-
Nonsense.
listen.
Just like I said to you,
can I speak?
like last week I spoke
let him
to
speak.
Chinese guy, and his name is Chu Cheng, whatever. That means I can speak Chinese. You
Let him
understand?
speak. Let him speak. He's getting his look.
Okay, I'm not trying to say that.
Hey, get me water.
When everything
The
that was
Christians they help
recited
each other.
from
Get me water.
Jesus was done exclusively in Greek. I never made that claim. All I'm saying is, if they wish to, there is a high
Just
likelihood
find
they probably could have.
Ask one of the brothers.
No, and I'll explain you why.
That's what. Okay.
No, I'll explain you why. Look how I dress.
Yeah.
Number one, look how I dress. My name, do you know my name is a Jewish name. I dress like this, very Jewish looking, and I speak Hebrew.
Okay, that's anti-social, antidotal.
No.
What? No, let me.
It's important.
Let me finish.
Keeps cutting out.
Jewish tradition is that regardless of everything, there's three things you never do. You never change your name. You keep the Jewish name. You don't change the dress. You don't take the local dress. You keep dressing the same way, and you don't change your language. We Jews, for thousands of years of exile, in exile, not in the homeland, have still spoken the same language.
Yeah, but what
Are
language
you
are you
honestly
speaking now?
What?
What language are you speaking now?
I speak English. I do. No problem. I do. Yes.
So
But
there
as
are
a
Jews
second
who speak
language.
other languages.
What?
There are Jews who speak other languages.
Yes.
I know Jews, and I've spoken to them in English.
Yes. Nowadays, many Jews speak.
Even you mean only
What?
now? Are you saying?
He
only now?
will-
100 years ago in Poland? Most of them 100 years ago in Poland?
None of them spoke English or
what?
Polish.
Most of them most likely did not speak Polish properly.
What?
Most of them spoke broken Polish at best.
I'm pretty confident there would have been Jews who would have known the language.
Yes, there would have. There was Jews that knew the language. But
It's-
by
no,
and large,
that's-
it was
yeah.
the higher
I
class.
I can understand what you're saying, but you're taking it a little too far because you're saying that there just isn't any way, and I'm saying no, there is a
No.
way.
He don't- no, don't
I'm
assume, don't assume.
I'm
He's
not
not
saying there
saying-
isn't any way. I'm
Okay,
saying
there is a way then.
No, well, let me
Because
finish.
we-
Sir,
If they
I'm
need to
saying
communicate, they will communicate
I'm
in their
saying
language.
That now, when we're in exile, we still keep to the original language. Are you
Of course,
honestly?
yeah, I understand that.
Are you honestly telling me back in the homeland they would have taken the colonizers' language
no,
after a few
I-
years?
Yeah, you see that's
my point.
That's what we're saying.
I'm not saying
That's
they
what
spoke
we're
right.
saying. That's the
Have I ever
nonsense.
said they
That's
never
the
spoke
hocus
Aramaic?
pocus they have.
Have I ever said that?
Why would they have spoken the colonizers' language in the first place?
They could have.
What?
They could have, they
In the
could
same
not.
way
You see, as
that a
assumption.
Jewish man in Poland
Yeah.
could have probably spoke Polish.
Could and could not.
If you go, hello.
You see, it's
Did he do
could,
it? Did he do it?
could not,
Like
and
all the time?
could. Probability. There's
They
a.
probably live in a Jewish
You
community.
see here.
with a common language.
Listen, you
go-
cannot.
If you go into where's it called again?
I think
if you
he's,
go, you know
he's
what?
trying to take what I've said out of context.
No,
No, your
I'll
your
prove it-
context is
hello,
as follow.
I'll prove it with a modern day example. If you go into Jenin, you know where Jenin is? Jenin refugee camp.
Yeah.
It's roughly 30 miles away from. It's roughly 30 miles away from Tel Aviv.
Okay.
Right? And Jerusalem, the head of Israel. You could find hundreds of thousands of Muslims there who don't speak a word of Hebrew, even though the occupiers' language is Hebrew. Why not? 70 years occupation, they still don't speak the language. Why? Because people don't take the occupiers' language that quickly.
Exactly,
I can give
that's
you a
my
modern
point.
day
That's my
example
point.
with technology, with
I'm wi-
smartphones
no, no,
to
no,
learn the
I'm willing
language.
to bet.
India was occupied.
Yes,
Listen,
you-
India,
yes, and
India.
they will be from the higher
Listen,
class.
listen.
You wouldn't find
India.
value-
Listen, India was occupied for more than 300 years by the British, and barely very few people who speaks proper English from them, because it's not even the elite. This is India. We go back now. The problem is this is in India. Yeah, go to India and try. No, some, but not all. Some, yes, I'm saying. I'm not saying not everyone.
the area that was
My
colonized by
point
British,
is,
they speak English
yeah,
very well.
yeah, but here going back to that's not my point. Our point is, why a Hebrew man, a Jew man who was born as a Jew, who was circumcised, speak to two Jew men who are Hebrew, speaks Hebrew, and the language of the common people is Aramaic, let's assume. Why he choose to speak to them in Greek? Nonsense. Do you understand this
Would he have-
nonsense?
would he have chosen
and
to
yet,
listen?
and yet,
That's
they,
not my
and
point.
here,
That's
and
not
according
my
to
point.
the Holy
Would he
Spirit,
have-
God instead of
Sheikh,
choosing
Sheikh.
the language of the people, will choose the language of the elite,
Sheikh.
and to put the manuscript to be written in what?
Alexander
In
the
Greek.
Great, that whole area
Nonsense.
started speaking
Nonsense.
Greek.
You see the nonsense what's going on?
I know.
So that
I don't know
shows
how they-
all of these hocus pocus.
Sheikh,
See, try to
What-
understand.
Does it make sense that if Jesus spoke to someone called Pontius
Just learn
Pilate,
some history,
With
man.
a
who was a
translator.
Roman official,
With a translator.
A Roman
it
official would have had a translator.
doesn't say that.
Hello, are you honestly telling me the Romans sent
Listen,
a guy
listen.
to Jerusalem?
Listen,
Hello, I have a
listen.
question for you. They sent a guy to Jerusalem and said, figure out the language yourself, bro.
or
What do you
Ah,
do? The governor of the area.
mate.
Figure it out
That's it.
yourself.
That's it.
or, funny enough, they both had a common language, which is why they could speak.
Are you telling me?
Why yes you?
You even admit.
Come on, come on, come on, go.
Yes, there were, but the Romans would have not sent the governor of the area with no translator. Just figure it out yourself, bro. We have faith in you.
But they could both speak.
That's my point. What I wanted.
Also,
That
could have had
is the
Jewish
case.
people who knew
That
Greek.
is the case.
in
So
the
that's
same
why.
way, there were Jewish people who
Why
wrote the
don't you
Septuagint
admit?
in Greek.
Ask him
I
now.
don't
Going back.
deny- But you're telling me the Romans sent
Yeah,
the
no,
guy,
no,
the head
listen,
hierarchy,
listen,
with no
mate,
Listen.
You're
listen,
not understanding
listen,
what I'm saying.
I'm asking
I'm not
you.
saying
Listen.
that's a guaranteed
Listen.
thing.
Listen.
I'm simply
Hello, answer
saying
me a yes or
it's
no.
a possibility.
Are you telling me there's a possibility the
Yes.
Romans, who conquered a significant part
And
of the
Hellenized
known
region.
world,
Well, the Greeks Hellenized it.
conquered a significant part of the known world at the time,
Yeah.
without translators, they just sent guys?
No, that's
you
not
telling
what I'm
me they
saying.
did?
Yeah,
a
that's my
possibility.
point.
Do you understand?
You think it's a chance?
That is
That
the
they
possibility.
sent a
Not
guy.
not a possi- That is the
I'm
possibility.
telling you, there's a complete reasonable chance there was a translator there. Absolutely.
No, I'm asking
Christian,
you a different question.
Listen.
That's not my
Let me-
question. That's not my question.
You just told me how it's absolutely a translator.
I'm asking you, are
That
you saying
shows-
there's any chance they
There is a
sent him
chance.
without a translator?
There is a chance.
Yes or no? Is there
Yes.
a chance? What percentage?
I can't give you a percentage.
What do you suspect?
I can't speak.
A low or high
Listen,
number?
all I am saying to you
Now-
is that we know there were Greek-speaking Jews. That there were Jews
Okay.
that translated the Old Testament.
And-
into Greek. It's
and
called
by the way-
Septuagint. It happened 300 years prior.
And by the way,
Second
listen,
of all,
David.
Second of
Yeah.
all, second of all, we know there are inscriptions written by Jews that were in Greek.
Now
We have this as
listen.
part of
Listen.
archaeology.
By the way,
We know there were
David.
Jews
I will
that
add to your
did this.
information.
Now,
David,
does this
David,
mean-
David,
does this mean-
David. According to
Let
them.
me answer. Give me a second.
Now,
Relax.
look, does this mean that
Okay, you
Jews
got-
didn't speak Aramaic predominantly? No. Does this mean they didn't, especially from the Torah, recite the Torah in Hebrew? No, of course not. We know they did.
Why he didn't
But what
speak
I'm
to them
saying-
in Hebrew?
All I'm saying, though, is that there is definitely good reasons to think they could have in certain situations where it was needed.
Let's go back a second.
Now,
No problem.
in order for his argument to
No,
be
no,
correct,
let me address
he
it.
has
I have
to
an issue-
refute that.
No, but I have an issue with that, what you just said. So you're telling, are you English?
Yes.
Okay, so my suggestion is go to the British Museum, ask them for any section of empire, and ask them if we went all over the world without translators. Okay? No empire in the world rocked up in
Wait,
places
okay,
and just
yeah,
said,
yeah,
figure it
that's
out.
fine. That doesn't address my point.
It's no.
Anyway,
You're
what I'm
telling me
saying
you
is,
believe there's a chance.
Did the British
that-
make the occupants learn English?
Listen, this is not
What?
David.
the British-
One second.
did the British make the occupants
Listen,
learn
listen,
English?
listen. Can I say something?
What?
Listen.
No,
Can
let me just-
I will say something.
Yes,
Listen, David.
and you find, I
David.
know, you find within community within India and in different parts of the world
Yes.
where we conquered,
Yeah.
where there were communities
Yes.
that even though the English tried to enforce English,
But they didn't.
They couldn't.
Why? Why? Because for them it was a commitment.
You're
Because then it
arguing
was a
more than you can
commitment.
demonstrate.
Listen, and on top
All
of this,
I'm saying is
listen.
there's a
You know what?
possibility.
Just listen. I will tell you something.
Your
According to them,
fantasy is
according
not
to
of
them.
What possibility?
Listen.
No, we're saying that they sent someone without a translator.
Listen,
Like,
and
that's
according,
illogical.
do you know, according to them, he said,
Unless they
Jesus
both knew
said,
Greek.
Jesus said, one
As many
second,
Jews
one
did.
second, one second, one
So I've
second,
just
one second, David, there's more nonsense, yeah, there's more nonsense.
Wow.
According to them, Jesus said, I was sent to the far sheep of the house of Israel. Yeah? The lost, sorry. I was sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So what he should speak to them, in which language? If he was sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, what language he has to speak to them?
No, Japanese are called.
Maybe Japanese. Maybe, yeah. Maybe he has to talk to them in Japanese. Maybe
what
that
about
will
the-
be.
but what about the
when
time
he
when
was
he
sent?
spoke to
Wait a second.
Gentiles?
So if
What
he was
about
sent,
the time he spoke to Gentiles?
so Aramaic. That was the language of the commoners. The language of the
Aramaic.
commoners was Aramaic.
Aramaic.
The language of the commoners was Aramaic. That's the
it
language.
was not
And
for the
yes, the
Jews
language of the
only.
commoners
Was it
The
for
language
the
of the
Greeks?
Jews is
no,
Everybody.
no, the language of the Jews is
Because
Hebrew,
was
for you to know.
New Testament was written for everybody.
The language
The
of the
language
Jews
when,
Jews.
when you read the Torah, what do you read it in?
Hebrew.
Exactly.
in Hebrew.
When you speak, do you often speak Hebrew? At the time when they spoke Aramaic?
Pardon?
At the time when they spoke Aramaic or Hebrew? Like in normal conversation?
Between the two of
away,
them?
Away from
Between the two of them.
There's arguments to be made for both. I can't. But
Okay,
most
but
likely Hebrew.
usually you...
Most likely Hebrew.
You wouldn't say
so,
Aramaic.
so
There's
either.
a chance there is. I
This guy
can't.
is
Yeah,
actually
you see here, the common language of that time, the Aramaic.
Well, apparently
And
no,
he
no.
was sent.
Local
He was sent.
Local.
Local was Aramaic.
No,
Yeah,
it's
Aramaic.
local.
Yeah, Aramaic.
Listen, Christianity was all over the place.
Aramaic. Yes, Aramaic.
He says it wasn't even Aramaic.
Local. Yeah, just you're a hackler. Local language.
saying it
Local
wasn't even
language was
Aramaic.
Aramaic. Local
He said
language was
it's not
Aramaic.
Aramaic. He says it's an
Local
argument
language
for
was Aramaic, and as well, and the Jews they spoke Hebrew between themselves that generally.
were bilingual.
And
Jesus wasn't there for Jews
and Jesus
only.
was sent to the
No,
lost.
he wasn't
what's that?
just sent
He
for
was
Jews.
sent to the lost sheep of
What does
Israel.
Matthew
And
28
yes,
say?
and he spoke to
What
two
does Matthew
Hebrew
28
guys.
19
And he spoke to
What does
two
Matthew
Hebrew
28
guys,
19
and he chose to speak in Greek.
Do you know that Jesus
Nonsense.
was sent to
You
all
You see here,
nations?
you lost. You lost.
You know that
Listen.
Jesus was sent to all
By the
nations.
way, you
Matthew
lost.
28,
By the way, you
19
lost.
said that
By the
Jesus
way,
was sent to all
you have to
nations.
understand.
Acts 1:8 said
Listen,
Jesus was sent to all
listen.
nations.
You have to know.
I just
That
refute.
argument. That argument
Right then.
was literally debunked. Your argument
Tell me.
was
Go on,
debunked.
then.
I
Refute me.
asked you again.
You demolish
Going
your
back.
own argument.
You
Right
going
now.
back. The first manuscript was in
Enjoy
Greek.
yourself. I'll leave
Thank
this
you.
with you. It's good
Thank
to
you,
see you
Anna.
as always.
Thank you.
I'll go
Anna.
find someone else.
So we have finished this conversation, and you see here
ended
they were
with
defeated
him
in front,
understanding
in all,
Jesus
even
said,
by the
"Come,
Hebrew,
just for
even by
Hebrew."
the Hebrew.
And the Jews-
And
It's
anyway,
Different qira'at, it's different words
anyway,
with different
that's it. We're done.
meanings.
You see here.
Different meanings.
Thank you anyway.
False
You see here.
Sheikh, you
You
are
see here.
unable to
We're
give
done.
it.
You're
You
done.
told people.
Just
You
That's
told
what
people.
look at the video
that
later
the
on.
different qira'ats
Look at the
with
video
different qira'ats.
later on, and then you will see your argument is debunked. And learn,
John, thank you.
learn,
You
You're
run away.
debunked.
learn,
You're debunked.
learn your
You
faith.
lied.
You admitted.
Learn your
Jesus came
faith.
from Jews
And
only. He came
learn
from
your
the
faith.
whole
Hey,
mashallah.
Learn your faith.
Learn
Learn your history. You don't know, and then we're done.
Yeah,
I'm done with this. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye, Sheikh.